Hey, look, I got new yarn. Not that I needed it. It's yarn. I was just telling my siblings over the holiday, like, it's yarn all over this apartment and not like a ball here, a ball there. I have a bin, a big ass bag, a bunch of it. But I wanted to make something for my granddaughter. And this has nothing to do with what I really was going to talk about, so just give me a second. But, um, but look. And I looked on YouTube and I learned a new stitch. So this is like a corner to corner blanket, which means instead of going around in a circle or side to side, I start from one corner and work my way up. So the stitch would be like on a diagonal, and I think that's really dope with the ombre. So, but oh yeah, they do kind of lead into what I was about to say, because I was going to talk about like learning new things, and a lot of times when I used to consider learn something new, it would always be like maybe I'll take a class, um, maybe I'll take a class or something like that, start a new hobby, learn a language, and all of those things are great. But one of the that could be a challenge for some folks. It would have been a challenge for me at one time, not maybe a money challenge or just me not wanting to get outside of my space challenge. So right now, one of the things I've learned to do is start small, and lots of people have lots of ways to describe that. uh, Tara Moore, I think, calls it taking baby steps or tiny steps or something. Um, the lady I studied, whose program I took, Martha Beck, she calls it turtle steps. My father, though, who I think is wiser than either of those white women, used to ask me very plainly, how do you eat an elephant? And I used to say, oh, you can't. It's too big. The skin is too hard. And he said, no, the same way you do anything else, one step at a time, one thing at a time. So, um, in trying to find the one thing, I thought about how reframing works, because language and words have nuance. And when we attach meaning to them for a specific incident, a lot of times we take it as that's the only meaning a particular word can have. Consider when, well, yeah. So consider if I say, oh, this is, a great day. Um, if whatever happened in that day is my only definition for a great day, it's not likely that I would ever have another great day. Like, what is the scale for that? So, one of the ways that we can begin to relearn things is notice when we've given concrete meaning to subjective words and adjectives in our minds, like good, right, normal, easy, hard, best. Maybe those things are, maybe they are not. Maybe they were at one time. Maybe they can be looked at in a different perspective, that would, in fact, give meaning to the whole as itself, like a Jenga tower. It is, if it's all solid, then yes, it's one thing. But as you begin to move pieces, it will change the shape of it. And that change will cause it to be something else. Now, just like you can reframe and reform the Jenga tower by rearranging pieces and observing it from different angles and perspectives, we can do that in our minds with memories of experiences, interactions with people, tasks and accomplishments we've done. We can always, at least for ourselves, review those things with a beginner's mind as you can, or as an observer. Martha Beck says beginner's mind, or, you got to kind of have the empty cup approach to everything. Because if you already know, at least for me, I found if I enter something like I already know what it is, then my mind is closed. I'm not going to learn, not anything new. I may just miss something important. I might by default disregard something as bullshit just because I didn't leave room for it to be examined from another perspective. Um, yeah. So I just thought about that, particularly since it's coming up on the new year, and there'll be lots of talk and inspiration and momentum for some people about change and revamping and manifesting, creating all of that, yada yada. And I don't mean to frame it as yada yada like in a dismissive sense. Just everybody calls everything differently, even though lots of times we're kind of speaking in the same realm. Anyway, with that being said, as we choose, you choose, I choose to maybe disengage, re-engage, create new habits and things for our lifestyles, to generate lasting change, whatever that may be, or look like. It could just, it not even could just, it must start with a change in our thinking and in our approach. And for me, it sometimes it's easy when it's something I know that I know nothing about. I have no choice but to be humble, like, please share your knowledge with me. You know what I mean? It's no problem then. But when I think I know what I'm doing, when I believe I'm already good and can't be made better, when I think that, no one else has anything to offer me to learn, at that point now, I've stopped my own progress. Um, which is a disservice because I have no idea. Well, I have some ideas, but in terms of the specific details, I'm ignorant of what those may be that I would need. I don't know. I can rearrange some of my Jenga pieces and pull some out, but not necessarily discard any because, that's part of the game, right? You don't pull the piece out and throw it away. You pull the piece out and put it someplace else. Sometimes points of views don't necessarily need to be abandoned, but repositioned because we've grown. So it I would find, I'm not gonna say it's wrong, but I would find it curious if there was something that I felt a way about in my teen years, and I had that same emotion about it at this stage in my life without whatever that event or stimulus was being a present thing. Like if I reach back in my mind and think of it, and it still sends me into the heaps and the fits, and I'm ready to tear something down, then I got a lot of work to do. That's all, because it's a lot of baggage. You know what I mean? That would have been a terrible weight to be carrying in terms of stress. I done pulled too much yarn. Lord have mercy. Anyway, because it gets tangled when I pull too much out like that. But anywho, find one thing, one step at a time. My one step for this year, I'm still doing my live out loud. I was trying to well, not even trying. I did it. I actually made myself a calendar for the year on Excel. I haven't filled it in with much yet, but it's there, which, the me of yore is highly impressed. Like, go, bitch. Like, because it got colors and everything like that. If you want such a thing that spells out the days 1 through, January 1 or whatever, I guess, and you see this message, you could DM me and I'll maybe, I know, not even maybe, I'll put a link to it on my website. or the YouTube, wherever this video ends up, and people will be able to find it, and you'll be able to hopefully fill it in yourself. All right. Yeah. Oh, so yeah, pick one thing. Maybe one thing to re-examine. Pick a word. Start there. Not a new word. Find an old word. Find a word you say all the time, and decide and wonder what else it could mean. Because sometimes I got a perfect example. I remember one time. No, I'm not. That's not a good example. All right. So reflect, relate, re-examine, reimagine. You know, for me, New Year's, I start my new year imagining, bubbling, all of that stuff ferments for me usually in like early autumn, late summer. Is the idea of newness starts bubbling up for me. So as it's winter now, some of those ideas have been like planted, you know what I mean? So we'll see what how things incubate over winter. My job right now is to be consistent with water and sunshine to nourish what's been planted so far, and let whatever else be what it be, because I can't make it grow. I can encourage its growth. I can support its growth, right? Not doing those things by default, then, I'm not really acting in faith. What did I sow for if I'm not going to nourish that which I've planted in myself? So, with all that being said, why did I bother changing in the first place if I was just going to stop here and stay as I am? If I was just going to only think the same way, do everything the same way all the time? Because, like, even with this yarn, I bought it because on some level, the yarn I had is kind of boring to me. I could have made my yummy something with that, but I didn't want to. And this was pretty. But since it was new, I owed it to the yarn and myself to not treat it like the stuff I already had, right? Because I could have just used the old shit if I was going to do old shit with it. Hey, brother. So I got new shit. I'm doing new shit with it. Next year, if you got new stuff over the holiday, it's new shit to you, do new shit with it. All right? All righty. Done a couple rows. Later.